What's up, everybody? Billy Liucci.
And Amanda Atwell.
And we are moving goalposts this week. Maybe. We always do. We always try. Everybody else is this week. That's for damn sure. So it's playoff time, Amanda, and it is La Casa Tequila time. I got to see Drake and the crew last week at our sponsor lunch.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. A lot of tequila going around.
It was, and a lot of new exciting stuff with La Casa. I know the day we talked, they were actually dropping a new release. So go research that. Hopefully we'll get a bottle of that in here in studio for next week to show you guys and talk about that. So exciting stuff with La Casa as the holidays approach. Load up on it, guys. Have it at the house. It'd be great for Christmas dinner, the holidays. You need a little something to warm up, make you a little tequila drink there by the fire.
Gift to bring to your in-laws.
Great Christmas gift. Great for Christmas Day, New Year's, watching college and NFL football. It's that time of year. Get you some. Bring it to all your holiday parties. Like you said, it's a great gift. Tell you what else is great right now, Amanda. Playoffs in College Station, Texas.
How does that feel? First time ever A&M makes the playoffs.
Yep.
You get to host a home game, which I know you're not thrilled about for one reason or another. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's hard.
I'm thrilled.
It's exciting, but at the same time, I can understand being a little bit annoyed, but it's the hand you were dealt, a little bit more difficult path than some other teams. But at the same time, know from experience, playoff games at home are a whole heck of a lot of fun for the fan base.
You know, and also, by the way, so yeah, like you guys got to experience this the last 2 years. A&M, this is their first year. Playoffs have been going on since, what, 2014, I believe. So
yeah, and both of us, it's taken us a while to get here.
Longer than it should have for both, for sure. But we're here. You guys got, Final Four the last 2 seasons, agonizingly close to playing for it all. The path looks really, it's not really similar because the Aggies have this big juggernaut looming in round 2.
I think y'all's path is significantly harder than Texas's path was last year.
Well, you guys, the difference is you've plugged in this Ohio State behemoth 1 round sooner.
Yeah.
But Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, if you win, Miami, so you're getting an ACC team at home, a very capable ACC team at home, which last year for you guys was Clemson. This year for A&M, it's Miami. Both kind of underachieved versus what it looked like at a certain point in the year. So really similar with the exception of, A&M's second round game is against the Buckeyes in the Cotton Bowl, whereas for you guys that was in the semifinals. But look, we won't talk too much about Ohio State today. In fact, we won't even talk too much about that.
Don't get ahead of yourself quite yet.
Yeah, and we won't. Well, and we'll
one bridge to cross.
A big bridge, by the way, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But we won't fully dive in because next week we'll break down the matchup with the Hurricanes a little more. But just a huge opportunity for Texas A&M in this playoff in general, but especially even just in 10 days at Kyle Field. You're going to have College Game Day is going to be there. You're going to have the spotlight. It's a day where they've separated OU and Bama and A&M Miami, and then you've got the 2 cakewalks later in the day. So you've got the spotlight. It's a playoff game. You're playing against a several-time national championship program. It's the U.
And a very experienced quarterback.
Well, there's Carson Beck. There's a lot going on there. You got here's Miami, right? Very experienced quarterback, very experienced SEC quarterback in all these venues. Not College Station because A&M apparently never plays Georgia, but in all these venues.
I think y'all have them coming up. I mean, with the schedule shift.
27, and so not this year, but the next. But you know what, Amanda? You win a couple games, you might get them this year, but that's down the road a bit. Miami has one of the truly elite pass rushers in the country. They've got a veteran quarterback. They've got a game-changing receiver. I think they've got a really good running back, but I think what stands out to me, outside of Reuben Bain on the pass rush, what stands out to me as much as anything is this is a team that's really strong on both lines of scrimmage. So,
and you know what you said about the line of scrimmage.
It wins you games and it loses you games. And their one loss of the year was, I think, the one game where they definitively lost the line of scrimmage, particularly in that second half. And the reason why A&M's won so many of those games this year is because they generally have won the LOS. They got to do it this weekend against a team that, like I'm telling you, they're very equipped on both lines. This is a tough matchup. I think it's a great game. It's certainly one that A&M can win at home. They've got to figure out how to make Miami struggle like SMU and Louisville did.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, when that team gets rolling, and maybe that's, Amanda, you guys played against him. Maybe twice you played against him. Maybe that's a Carson Beck thing. Don't let him get comfortable and get rolling, and then that team won't. Because
he was injured in the SEC championship game, and then Gunnar Stockton came in. But yeah, I mean, Texas figured something out in the SEC championship game because that game was a whole heck of a lot closer than the game in Austin, and it was a very winnable game for Texas.
Yeah.
So,
well, and Carson was not having near the same success in game 2 as he did in game 1. But I think, am I not mistaken, did he throw 3 picks in Austin in that game too? Pretty sure
let me look that up.
Pretty sure he threw
Texas
3
could just not do anything on offense in Austin. It was their by far worst performance of the season, which is obvious. It's the only game they lost in the regular season, but they just did not look like they did the rest. I mean, maybe you can call it similar to the way you guys looked in that first half against South Carolina. They looked pretty uncharacteristic when they were playing against Georgia in that game. Let me look up and see how many interceptions he threw.
By the way,
Austin, he threw 3 interceptions in Austin. Texas still lost the game somehow. So the defense was doing its job that game. The offense just couldn't help them out at all.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, Miami, it's a tough draw. Honestly, if you want to really talk about the seeding, I went on a little bit of a rant as they were releasing that on Twitter and then followed that up.
Yeah, you were not happy with it. I mean, I have not really found anybody who is super thrilled with the way this college football playoff. And you can pinpoint anybody who you think is complaining too much about it. Or the root of the thing is it doesn't seem like anybody's happy with it. Is anybody ever going to be fully happy with the way this system works out? I don't think so, but I do think it is something that they can still make better because I am the G5 lovers are going to hate me. I don't want to watch those games in the first round. No. I don't want to watch a charity case in the first round of the college football playoff. I'm so sorry.
I want to get into all of this in a minute. I want to talk about A&M and in this thing first. And then
got sidetracked.
I know. Because if I let you sidetrack me, you know how this is going to go.
Be in another planet.
We're going to go, and then we're going to do it. We'll probably circle back and talk about the same thing twice. So with that said, so my thoughts on A&M, and man, I have so much I want to talk to you about this committee here in a minute, but my thoughts on A&M seed in particular, just talking to a lot of people around the country in college football, like the national media, let's call them, whether that's podcast, print, television. I've talked to a lot of people since yesterday and even since last week. Most of them were telling me they felt like A&M should have been 6. They felt like A&M should have been 6. And
it does seem like the committee was weighing losses more heavily than they were wins when it came to specific teams. I mean, with the exception of maybe Alabama losing to Georgia in a pretty substantial fashion. I think their excuse for that was, Alabama beat Georgia earlier in this season, so they basically cancel out, which doesn't make sense to me considering shouldn't you be judging how these teams have progressed over the season and how they're currently playing?
Yeah, and when you say that, the one thing I will say, Oregon's loss was at home, but it was to the number 1 team in the country. Ole Miss's loss was on the road at number 2. A&M's loss was on the road at Texas, who's residing just outside the top 10. So, yeah, the Aggies' loss was, quote, worse than the other ones. I will say this, though. You don't even get me started on Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, and the Big Ten. Like, I'm watching the teams, and I do think you have to put some of that into it. But,
I'm going to bait you into a conversation about the Big 12 eventually.
Okay, yeah, you are. But as I'm watching those games, I'm like, A&M went from it just felt like they were waiting on the Aggies to lose to drop them to a certain point. And I think that's fine. When you lose, you should drop. But they went from people like Nick Saban and others saying this is a team that could win a national championship to, oh, let's drop them to 7. And I don't even know how close they were to dropping to 8. Just from talking to people that have no maroon on behind them, and most felt 6. Now, I want you to think about, you've got that jackass Hunter Yurachek, who's an athletic director at Arkansas.
Billy did not mince words there. And yeah, the whole athletic director at Arkansas thing.
It explains so much. First of all, you've got this guy at the head of the committee where A&M's consistently broken his team's heart year after year after year. Oh, by the way, he wanted the A&M job and interviewed for it as AD and didn't get it. So it's hard to imagine that at the very top of that chain, there's not some sort of bias. Not to mention, you think that guy likes the Texas Longhorns? I'm just saying.
I don't know. Who do you think he likes less, Texas or Texas A&M?
Probably A&M because of the reasons I just said.
Probably for a personal reason A&M, but there's no way that he has love for the Longhorns.
No,
either.
But you guys haven't beaten him, 13 out of 14 years or whatever. But
I mean, listen, we've beat him the last 2 that we've had the opportunity. So
the guy, okay, so just the difference. He made that joke with Reese Davis a couple weeks ago, the 6'7" joke. It was so awkwardly not pulled off.
Yeah, you're old. Don't make those jokes.
Well, yeah,
also, my commentary on this is it would make sense for A&M to be 6 for me because Ole Miss just lost their head coach.
Yes.
You don't want to punish Ole Miss too much, but that is a major factor. That is like that. At least they have their offensive coordinator able to be there, but losing your head coach is a major factor.
It's one spot.
One spot seems reasonable.
It's one spot, and it's a really big spot. And I just look. Your first game is against Tulane, and you've also set up a rematch. So yeah,
nobody wants to watch that rematch. Nobody.
And you all, by the way, you also set up a secondary rematch with Georgia for Ole Miss. So all you'd had to do is flip-flop A&M and Ole Miss, and then you kind of say, hey, without your coach, we're going to drop you just one spot. I thought they should have done that. Now, with that said, Amanda, we don't know how it's going to work out. You win one game at home, that's great. If you told me A&M could get Tulane and just blow past them like it's a scrimmage versus, hey, you have a chance to beat Miami at home, but there's also a much greater chance you lose. If your second-round game is Ohio State or Georgia, I would say, fine, let's do Miami.
You're still going to have a hard game.
But I'm like, yeah, let's do Miami, and let's see, because you're not going to beat Ohio State or Georgia if you can't beat Miami at home. It's just the fair way to look at it. So I'm really excited and fired up. I'm going to explain to you guys, the Texas fans watching, because the Aggies have heard me say this. In one season, if A&M can beat Miami, and it's a big if, we get it, but if they do, they will play Notre Dame in South Bend. They will play Florida, the Gators, and Spurrier and Tebow and Urban Meyer and all the championships. You will play LSU and all their history and championships in Baton Rouge. You will play Texas and all their history and their blue blood and their national championships in Austin. And you will play Miami, the U, and all their history and national championships. And if you beat them, you also can add Ohio State to that list. What a fun season if you're a fan. And if you beat Miami, you would be going into that Ohio State game 4-1 in 5 of those games. What a fun, unexpected, incredible ride that would be. And it doesn't mean it has to be over there, but I think it's a great opportunity, Amanda, for Elko to really take this thing to another. They've done it by reaching the playoffs and going 11-1. If you can beat
in
Miami,
season 2.
yeah, in season 2, if you can beat Miami and get to 12-1 and play New Year's Eve in the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State, what a season for this team! What a massive step for this program! And then again, what would be the biggest game in program history? I think what's happening next Saturday is the biggest game, the most important game in Kyle Field history, behind the bonfire game in 1999 for completely different reasons that we all know about. But I think as far as like what's at stake football-wise, it would be the most important one ever played on Saturday. So sign me up for Miami. Like, you understand there's a chance you lose that football game. They've won every game at home this year. They've risen to the occasion 11 out of 12 times. I know you know what that 12th one is, but I don't know. Do you think there was a silver lining? Amanda, Coach Elko he mentions it and he prefaced it sitting right here with me where he said, look, in no world, like he's basically saying you have to beat Texas when you play, but if you do lose the game, which is what happened, there's a but there that is, I want to know what you think in terms of, did A&M minus the frustration and the long-term ramifications, did A&M come out with a bit of a silver lining having lost that game and not played for an SEC title?
I don't know. Personally, I would want to play for the SEC title.
I did too.
I mean, I know it's an extra week of game. It's an extra week where you're risking injury, and who knows if they will consider these games to be valuable moving forward. But A&M still hasn't played for an SEC championship in program history.
Yeah.
That has to hurt, especially when 2 years straight it comes at the hands of your arch rival. I know, as from my perspective, as a team that missed a lot of Big 12 titles and had to watch OU be very successful when we were very down, that sucked.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, you can look at it from a schematic standpoint and make a wraparound way to where, like, okay, this actually could be beneficial. But I think for me, it's more of what college football is about is pride. What it's about, these rivalries and the passion here, and it's obviously getting to the point with how obviously teams are starting to feel about bowl games. We're almost getting away from that, what college football is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I'd be pissed. I want to play in that SEC championship game. Texas got to play in it last year. You didn't get the result you wanted. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty dang proud that Texas, in the first year of being in the SEC, played in the SEC championship game.
And you should be. And it was unexpected, and God knows you took the victory lap on my head after that one.
I mean, we all saw everything that everyone said about Texas in 2021 when it was announced they were joining the SEC, that Texas was going to get run through every single year in this new league. Well, guess what? Texas has added a lot to this conference. Texas has added a very challenging opponent on a lot of people's schedules. They've added a lot of viewership, and so has OU.
I know. We're going to have to.
A big old struggle in year one, but look what they've done in year two.
We're going to tackle that in a minute.
Both teams have made the playoffs in their first 2 years in the conference, and there's a whole lot of teams in the SEC that can't say the same thing, and they've had the chance a whole hell of a lot longer.
That is true. That is true. I will say this. Nothing you said is wrong. I would have rather seen A&M play for an SEC title. Texas went in that game, got beat up. They also beat up Georgia, and they came out and won 2 playoff games. And the game they lost to Ohio State had nothing to do with them being banged up or hurt. It was just they lost to the national champs in a close game. So you can do it. I do think in this instance, a little bit of both can be true. Like, yes, A&M wanted to beat Texas. Yes, you wanted to go to Atlanta and win. But I have been watching this team, watching them. They need Le'Veon Moss back. He is a great back. he is a potential X factor in this playoff because he is that good.
But my concern is how long has he been out?
Yeah,
and how long he has been out going to be impactful to how big of a contribution he can make?
I think we have experience with him being out, and Mike Elko, I think his tough decision was going to be
What was his injury again?
It was knee. It wasn't, I don't know the exact injury, but it was knee. It wasn't AC. I mean, I'm sorry. It was high ankle. My bad. It was high ankle.
I was about to say, I thought it was
He
high
had the
ankle.
tightrope procedure done. So here's the deal. He went through a long absence and a return, and he carried the ball like 2 times in one game, 3 in the next, not because he couldn't, but because they were just like, you don't have to. And then against Notre Dame, he ran it like 17 times or something. So I think they're fine, and I think the decision would have been this week had they played in Atlanta. Like, do we do this, or do we still wait because we could not play him for another 2 weeks? I don't think the decision was really Texas. You saw early in the week, Elko said he's doubtful. So I think he's going to be 100%, Amanda. I really do, and I think he's going to practice starting this week to ramp up to that. He's a game changer because the way he runs the ball and breaks tackles, which we didn't see a lot of in Austin against a really good defense, you're going to have to. You can't block everyone on every play. You've got to have a guy running through those tackles, and he does that as well as anybody in the SEC. And when that happens, it takes so much of the pressure off of Marcel Reed and the receivers. It also allows that play action, which gives Marcel a lot more time to sit back there, survey, and throw, and maybe run. So, and then all 3 of the receivers were gimping around in Austin at different points in that game. I saw Ashton Bethel-Roman barely walking off the field. I saw Concepcion limping. Craver's been hurt. Those guys are speed receivers. They're like, Worthy and Golden in terms of like their Whittington. Their game is speed and quickness.
I will say, I'll let you continue. Sorry for everybody who gets pissed at me for interrupting.
Don't interrupt.
But just so Miami is a much higher ranked defense than Texas.
Yeah, but I saw one of the loser. You know how I feel about one of the people that tweeted that.
I haven't looked into depth on the different stats, but I just looked at total defense real quick.
I think Miami, there's a chance that's the best defense A&M's played, but it's also a lot of those. I mean, NFL talent metric, yes. It'd be Miami, it'd be Texas, it'd be probably, if we're being honest, probably Auburn. But I think it's as good as a defense as A&M's play. I'll put it that way. I think part of it is if you look at what Miami did once they got into that ACC schedule, it changes quite a bit.
They have a different caliber of an opponent versus who Texas has played.
Yeah, exactly.
Texas has played a much more difficult schedule, so they're going to be dealing with much better offenses.
But you make a great point. Like, it is as good a defense as they've played. And it might be the best, it might be second, but it's way up there. So, yeah, those receivers that are so speed, quickness out of the cut, make people miss, agility, all of that stuff, they need to be 100%. And so, yeah, I think this. And Marcel got hurt in Austin. We all saw it.
Who was beat up in what receivers were beat up in Austin? Craver?
Well, Craver sat out Samford. He almost missed South Carolina. He played very little in that game. He was battling. They all 3 ankles. Bethel-Roman got hurt during the game. Concepcion was gimping on and off there in the second half, but he's that dude. You got to do a lot to keep him out of a football game. Yeah. But I'm saying they need to get healthy. It's the word I use is what I mean. It's silver lining there. So hopefully they're fresh and as healthy as they've been all year with Le'Veon Moss back, who hasn't played. The last time we saw him, he was like ripping off a 50-yard first quarter against Florida, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, I'll let you get away with it because you're calling it a silver lining.
Yeah.
Rather than, because if you're just saying, well, yeah, it's kind of a good thing we didn't beat Texas, I would call that coping. But if you're just saying this is the one silver lining to not beating Texas.
Listen, you know me, and I can take an L. There's a
lot of coping online.
Yeah, but
you've been a very non-sore loser.
Thank you.
So
I think. I want to say thank you to that, but then I feel like that's just admitting that I'm. You said sore in there. It just feel like I'm admitting I've taken.
No, there were a lot of. You don't want to be a sore loser. You want to give credit where credit's due.
But I don't want to get used to losing, and I feel like you've handed me so many like Twitter L's that like. Let's be clear, I'm handling it because A&M's in a playoff. And I was able to shift my focus quickly. Had Texas ended A&M's season and they're going back to the like Las Vegas Bowl, you probably would have seen me coping and maybe lashing out a little more. I'll be honest.
Just need to take your phone away after those games sometimes.
That is true.
You basically had your phone taken away after the Texas game. People had to put out a missing persons on Billy Liucci after that game for a bit.
Dude, that's because here's the deal that people don't know is we're all sitting around hanging out and you'll literally detach from the whole conversation for a minute, and the next thing I know, I'll get without you even saying anything, I'll get like a notification where something during the whole conversation popped into your head, and you'll like quote tweet me or do something on Twitter and just be sitting there smirking, waiting for me to like realize that you've done it. So yeah, I'm definitely not saying shit. What's funny is
everybody was like, "Where's Liucci?" after the game, like tweeting you like missing person. I was like, "Oh, he's buying us margaritas at the bar."
he's
he's
right
okay,
here.
but he's just taking the loss with some tequila.
We're keeping an eye on him. He's fine. All right, so let me ask you. Elko in year 2, we talked about that. I think it's pretty incredible where he's got him. Look.
And there were so many of your fans complaining after 8-4 year 1.
You're right. You are dead on.
This isn't it, blah, blah, blah. He was handed so much, such a good roster. Like, I'm so sorry if you have been misled by what some teams, very, very few teams that are the exception, not the rule, end up doing in year 1 under a head coach. That is the exception, not the rule. 8-4, that's a pretty solid season under a new head coach. And to follow it up with 11-1 is pretty spectacular under a new head coach. I know the 1 is to the last team you would want to lose to on that schedule, but it's at the end of the day, you're in the college football playoff. So
you know what I said after this is wild, and yeah, 11-1's incredible, and the job he's done in the direction, and we'll talk in a second. Both teams with top 10.
And I honestly, I like him way more than Jimbo. I'm sorry.
I know you do, and you like, and you know we joke too. I brought up the whole thing about the off air, and we're talking about the what the Texas put up on the jumbotron, and his whole concept of all that is, hey, what are you going to be scared to say anything? Like social media,
it's not like Sark put that together.
No, they have fun.
Media staff,
and A&M does the same thing, and they're proud of like when they do bangers on social media. Like that is I asked him specifically about social media in an interview question. I'm going to send it to you. You ought to watch it because I think you'll really like some of his answers about the playoff and the 9 conference games and the issue that comes with that and social media. He's got a great feel for all those things. And I think this is the other thing. This team can do something special in this playoff. Now, unfortunately, you were seeded. You knew you were going to be in that, I hate to use this. I'm not going to do the joke, but you were in that 7-6 range, so you're getting Ohio State or Georgia in round 2.
7-6 instead of 7-7.
So if you can somehow beat Miami and pull that off, then who knows? But I mean, he's got the program in a great spot and where they're at this year. And then I guess I was going to ask you. I was going to say, can A&M go on a run here? I saw something interesting that I didn't really disagree with. Somebody. Might have been Brandon Walker. It might have been somebody compartmentalized the teams and said teams that can win it all. And it was Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and he had Tech. I disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
I do think they have an easy path, easiest that they could get, but I think I would replace them possibly with Oregon because of that path.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then I would put Tech, and he said teams that could keep a team from winning it all. In other words, to score a massive upset. And I don't know who he had, but I like phrasing it that way. And I think A&M's in there. I think Tech's in there. I think that I don't think Bama's in there. I actually think maybe I don't know. It might be just A&M Tech and Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is going to draw Georgia in round 2.
Not many people are talking about OU in this scenario either.
I just don't see it with that
I don't
offense.
trust their offense at all. They do have a benefit of a night game in Norman against a team they've beat, and they've had Alabama's number the past couple
2
years.
You're right.
I think Alabama's gonna have a chip on their shoulder with that one. I don't know if that's gonna be enough to make me pick Alabama in that game, because I don't know if I trust them against OU. But then they would have Indiana second round. And if Indiana can beat Ohio State, and honestly, I don't know, like I had a TikTok pop up on my feed today of like the Indiana story of just like where they've gone since they got Cignetti, and
It's remarkable.
I was like, I know who I'm cheering for in these playoffs. It's just the most romantic college football story that you can think of. And Fernando Mendoza is just a super likable kid that would probably be a finance bro in another lifetime, because he's so incredibly smart.
He's so
and it's
quirky and like
it's so easy to cheer for. So like, I'm sorry, Aggies, but like I can't cheer for my rival in the playoffs. But like, just know, like, Indiana, I feel like, is a safe team to cheer for.
What are you talking about? You know I was cheering for y'all all through the playoffs. Didn't you see it on Twitter? Because I was allegedly on y'all's sideline the whole game, despite the fact that I was on both sidelines before the game.
I can confirm Billy was definitely not cheering for us. Every time we won a game, he said he was in hell.
Oh, God, it was so true. I was like the biggest Scattaboo fan down the stretch there, and all they did was just play with my emotions, making me think that
I had to ignore my phone the second half of that Arizona State, or the very end of that Arizona State game in the overtimes. I turned off the TV, threw my phone on the bed, and laid face first on my bed and waited for the ESPN notification that we lost. It never came.
I think A&M can make some real noise and pull off like the stunning upset round 2. But I also think it's just as easy that they could lose to Miami. Like they're a team that when they're playing really well, and I forget who said this. It was Matt Leinart. He kind of made a comment on each.
He's been ridiculous. I don't want to listen to anything.
He's made a comment on each team, though, where he's like, when this team's playing their best, they are really tough to beat. And so that's the big question, though. And as we enter this playoffs, right, like, we just don't know.
When's the last time A&M played 4 quarters of football is my concern.
I would say
against a decent opponent. I would say maybe LSU. Even the first half there, you had a couple question marks.
Yeah, they were down at halftime, but they weren't. Yeah. They were still. I mean, you can play good football.
It was probably similar to how Texas was down at halftime. Texas was down at halftime. I wasn't worried. I was relaxed, which is rare for me.
I felt like both teams should have felt fine going into halftime of that one. 10-3. It was neither team really. A&M just kind of got a field position swing there that got them that touchdown drive. But I don't think either team should have felt at all bad about. Maybe there's a little pressure on Texas to say, like, we got to score next. And they did. And they did next and maybe next again. I forget how long it was till A&M scored. But, yeah, the LSU game, I was kind of the same way. They're down 18-14, and they played a pretty bad second quarter. But I already, at halftime, felt like the Aggies are the better team.
And my other concern is and I mentioned this to you earlier, is Reed has had some issues down the stretch when he's been faced with pressure. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I wouldn't call South Carolina a great defense, but they figured out how to make him a little unstable. And then Texas, a pretty dang solid defense, also made him a little uncomfortable, throwing 2 interceptions there. You're playing you're playing one really good defense, and if you beat that good defense, you got an even better defense waiting for you in the Cotton Bowl.
That's true.
So that's something to think about. I mean, he has a benefit of one of the best O-lines in the league, but at the same time, people have found ways to get around that O-line and make him a little uncomfy and make him make poor decisions.
Yeah, you're making some great points when it comes to concerns, and that loss is why the Aggies are sitting at 7 with a tougher path and playing a game without 4 quarters of football will get them bounced. So they've got to find a way to do that. What'd you say?
Maybe it taught them some things.
Well, I think in theory it should have. Like you should. It's got to be a little hit to say, hey, this isn't. We're good. We ain't good enough yet. We got to keep getting better. I think what is you had the numbers that A&M played. It's funny because they played I don't think a really good first half in Austin, but they held Texas to 3 points and a half. They were up 10-3 at halftime there, and in the second half of South Carolina, they obviously shut them out and played almost like the perfect half of football. They had to because the first half was that bad, right? Like the combined points, what was that? I have that somewhere on here. Of those two bad halves in Austin and South Carolina, do you see it down there? It's
what was it? 54. Wait, no. Oh yeah, 54-10.
54-10 in the first half of South Carolina and second half of Texas. That's 30-3 and 24-7.
And that's, I mean, a lot of that. It's Trey Wisner, the run defense. Wisner had not had a breakout game. I mean, he had a decent game at Vanderbilt, but he has not had a good season otherwise.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the O-line was blocking worlds better than it had most of the rest of the season.
But that's an indictment. It's like a positive to Texas, but it's an indictment on A&M how they didn't perform up front. So I don't know. I think you're bringing up great points. I think those are the concerns. Run defense. I think the kicking game. I think Marcel's turnovers. He had 5 in those 2 games. Those are your last 2 SEC games. Samford, forget about it. Doesn't count. Those were your last 2 SEC games. He had 5 your quarterback had 5 turnovers. That has not.
One other concern, don't mean to cut you off, but before you get to the next point, is secondary. Texas, you finally faced a good secondary, and you're the thing you've been doing well is Marcel connecting to receivers like Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver.
Yeah.
You're facing more good secondaries, probably better than Texas. So, I mean, is that a concern for you as well? I think you might be at the disservice, and this isn't A&M's fault, obviously. It's how the cookies crumbled as far as the schedule you were given, of just the teams that were on it not being up to the par that you thought you would be. You weren't tested the way you thought you would be up to this point in the season. Do you think that's a disservice to A&M? Or, I mean, it's impeded how they could have developed had they been facing the teams that they thought they would be facing?
I'm gonna say yes in the big picture of no. I'm actually gonna disagree with you on that, and here's why. I think Texas shut down the offense in general for most of that game. A&M got into a tempo thing that I thought could have worked. They had the nice touchdown drive. Then they had another one where he throws the pick down there on the goal line. So maybe they should have gone to that sooner and put that kind of pressure on Texas. Like, hey, that's how Vandy came back. Maybe you go in with more of that during the game. Texas just outplayed them, and Texas' secondary has been getting shredded a lot this year.
I think they put together the 4 quarters that I said they would need to put together.
Yeah,
I mean, the first 2 quarters weren't great on offense, but as long as the defense holds it together, how did I say Texas would win football games this year?
Yeah.
The defense playing well and keeping the other team from scoring below 20.
No, you nailed that one, and the trend was that you were not going to nail it because they were not
playing.
trending the right way defensively, but they did it when it mattered most twice, OU and A&M. And they did it for a large part of that Georgia game, and the dam just broke. I'll tell you this. What you're saying, I disagree because Auburn's a good defensive team. Notre Dame, it's a weird one because they weren't that night. They've become a good defensive team. LSU was, and even after the firing and all that, A&M scored 49 on them. OU and Bama, two playoff teams, combined to score 33.
LSU OU game.
Yeah.
And that OU team's in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Bama managed just 20 on them. OU 13. Missouri's been a good defensive team against basically everyone they've played except, A&M scored 38 and had the ball at the 10-yard line and basically, ran 3 plays up the middle to not score 45. So I think they've actually – you and I, at the time they played the Florida Gators, Florida had a tough defense. When A&M and Texas both played Florida and Miami and South Florida and LSU, all those games they were losing, it was because of Lagway and the offense, not the So I think they've been tested with good defenses. But I will take what you said and flip it, and I will say the Aggie defense has not faced a whole bunch of really capable, good offenses this year.
Yeah.
And so
that makes sense.
When Miami's on, I think they can be really good offensively, just like when Texas was on, which they were, and Notre Dame and Arkansas, who both went. So I think you were saying something, but as you were talking, I was like, wait, I think she's a little off there, but I think actually her point, what I would say, if A&M wins next Saturday, Amanda, because of that Miami defense, I think the Aggies are going to have to win because of Mike Elko's defense at Kyle Field and the running game. Can they stop the run, and can Moss and company run the football to let Marcel do what Marcel does, which is play action, drop back, survey with time, and if it ain't there, go. So, yeah, it's going to be –
At least you can be confident in the fact it will be the loudest 11 a.m. kickoff humanly possible.
How do you feel about 11? I was pissed about it, but then the NFL screws it up.
I get it. Like, you want to be pissed about it. It's a hand you were dealt. At the same time, at least give y'all the 2:30 kickoff.
Where it's dark in the second half, right?
Like, I mean, you put one of the cupcakes in the better time slot. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what's a better TV time slot, because maybe the 11 a.m. makes more money. But
what they want, TV's screwing you here because they don't want a high-profile game to compete against the NFL.
Yeah.
We're in that Saturday NFL time of year. So that's why OU, Alabama. Because otherwise you'd have OU, Alabama, one of us at 2:30, the other one at 7, and that's your whole Saturday of college football right there for the whole country to watch. NFL screwed it up. 11 a.m., but you roll right from game day right into kickoff. And like you said, it's going to be rocking. It's going to be raucous. So
yeah, I'm not concerned about Aggies showing up to their first ever college football playoff game, even if it was at 9 a.m.
No, and we talked about the concerns, and we'll say this. If A&M can play at their best, and not to do it for 4 but just play your best over the course of a game. It doesn't always stay up. They can beat anyone. Now, I'm not saying they can do that 4 weeks in a row. They played their way, and this is where there is no silver lining to losing to your Longhorns. It knocked you to a 7 seed. That loss that gives you a chance to maybe get healthy, and it did knock you to a 7 seed. Your path is really tough. I don't know if they can win 4 of those in a row, but I know playing great football, they can beat anyone in this tournament. They're not the only team that can say that, because I think it's going to be one of those years, Amanda. I think Ohio State just showed some vulnerability. We'll talk about here in a second.
But what I mentioned to you earlier today, I would not want to play an angry Ohio State after a game they did not think they were supposed to lose. See Michigan last year.
Yeah, that was – well, they lost to Michigan, and then they bludgeoned Tennessee.
They bludgeoned Tennessee. They bludgeoned Oregon.
Yeah,
I believe.
and a team that had beat them earlier in the year.
Texas was the only one that really gave them a bit of a fight there. I mean, the score didn't really show how that game could have gone
that
at
was
the
a
end there,
touchdown,
aside from
yeah.
that awful Steve Sarkisian call that ended up in that just atrocious play. See,
Go,
this is why I'm
Sawyer,
not cheering
go,
for you.
go, Sawyer, go.
Yeah, this is why I'm not cheering for you.
Oh, you weren't cheering for us anyway. You're not quite the hater that people portray
I'm
you
not a
as.
hater.
You're
I'm just not going to put on my maroon in the playoff.
Yeah, but you know what? You are one that would be happy for your Aggie friends
Yeah,
if
I'm
they
happy
won.
for your happiness.
That's how
Though
I am.
slightly annoyed.
That's how I am with my Texas friends. Even when they beat A&M, I don't feel
any
much
happiness for those in Crimson and Cream.
No, let's talk about your Longhorns here. We go bowl game. Take us. What are your thoughts on all this? No, first off, let's start with this. Did Texas get snubbed? Should they be in the playoffs?
I don't know if I can make a full argument for Texas being in the playoff. I can see both sides of this argument. I think if the college football playoff was actually using the semantics that they put out, that they said that they would be using, Texas should be in the playoff, because they said it wasn't just about wins and losses. That being said, I don't think, just based on what we've seen, how they've done it recently, we're going to see a 3-loss team, other than a team that's lost in a conference championship game, make it into the playoffs, or a team that has won a conference championship game that has to be in the playoffs.
Right.
So the Florida loss killed Texas, unfortunately. I know a lot. I'm not the Texas fan that's going to say the Ohio State loss killed Texas. I do think Texas would be in the playoffs had they not had that game and had a different opponent in the beginning, which is annoying. It is annoying. I'm not a person who wants to cancel those games.
You want to play
However, Texas has Ohio State next year. They're not canceling that game. Steve Sarkisian said so. They're not canceling the Michigan game the following year. I do think they should cancel the Notre Dame games, and it has nothing to do with strength of opponent. I am just sick of those crybabies in South Bend. I don't think any talented college football team should give them a good game on their schedule at this point, based on how they have acted.
I agree.
I would be happy to schedule any other quality opponent, because I think those games are fun. I will always think those games are fun and good for college football. I don't want to see Notre Dame anymore.
I agree with you, and that's somebody that just watched his team play Notre Dame 2 years in a row, and it was awesome. But
yeah, and like I've always wanted to go to South Bend. I've always wanted to experience it. Before all this happened, I thought Notre Dame was a cool program. Whatever. The way they have acted as the chips have fallen in this whole situation. I mean, and I know a lot of Aggies are out here saying Steve Sarkisian was whining about his team not making the playoffs. No, Steve Sarkisian was making a case for his team to make the playoffs. So was Vanderbilt. So was BYU. So was every coach in this cusp position. Yeah. They were making the case for why they thought their team deserved a spot in the playoffs. Now, the difference is, now that it's been decided that Texas is not in the playoffs, Steve Sarkisian says, we're going to use this game as an opportunity. It's a great matchup with another college football blue blood. It gives you the opportunity to give some of these younger guys that may have redshirted to save, like I think of like James Simon, the running back that had some real talent at the beginning of the season that ended up redshirting. You get to see those guys in these games.
Yeah.
You get to see that you get some of the experience come out. So, I mean, I am obviously disappointed Texas didn't make the playoffs this year. I figured that was going to happen after, honestly, the moment was when Kirby called that onside kick. That was my moment of this team. We're screwed.
Going. Yeah, listen.
We're screwed at this point. And so, like, going into the A&M game, I didn't think we were making the playoffs. That didn't mean I didn't want to beat A&M. So, at the end of the day, I think it'll be a fun bowl game. It's the Citrus Bowl. It's a solid bowl game. It's on New Year's Eve. And it's against Michigan, which is just a fun matchup to watch. So, yeah, I've processed it. It's annoying not making the playoffs. And I do think Texas is one of the 12 best teams in the country. But the way the college football playoff is set up right now, you you got to be one of its best 10 teams in the country.
Okay.
That's how it is.
Okay. I agree with everything you just said. Texas and Michigan is a fun bowl game. You're going to get to see young guys. I was saying the same thing last year when A&M played USC.
Yeah, that's a fun matchup. You're getting to play just a historically great college football program. That's a quality opponent. I mean,
Amanda, I think it's a blue blood program. Both of them are. I love the fact that A&M, and if you're going to go 8-4, go play somebody with a name, with a brand, where you see the uniform, it gets you fired up. I know y'all played last year. You're playing in a couple of years. It's the Texas Longhorns and the Michigan Wolverines. Let's go. Like, people are going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. Neutral fans are going to watch it. Look, if you're a Texas fan, I know it's going to be like
it's a consolation prize.
And if you lose, you don't care. And Aggies are going to talk trash, just like Longhorns talked trash to me last year when A&M lost at the end of USC. We know the games don't matter, but if you win, you can say, oh, look, we beat Oklahoma, we beat A&M, and we beat Michigan all, and that was a down year for us. We did not meet expectations. We didn't reach the playoff, but we beat A&M, Oklahoma, and Michigan. There is something to be gained from this game.
And I can't remember what the exact stat was, but Steve Sarkisian said this will be the first time Texas has had 10-win seasons, however many years straight, since like 2007 or something. Wow. Which is pretty crazy if Texas wins this game, obviously. So they have an opportunity to do something they haven't done in quite a long time.
I don't think Texas should have been in the playoff. I think they fell just short. I do think if the playoff was set up properly, they would be in the playoff and would be deserving.
Yep. That's my thought.
You would have. These two teams should not be in it, Tulane and James Madison. They need to fix it. I think it needs to be a situation where, hey, if you're ranked in the, Notre Dame has this thing starting next year. If they're ranked in the top 12, they should be in.
That's BS. That's the reason I really despise.
I hate it. But if anything, change it to top 8 for Notre Dame. Make them play real teams to get in the top 8, or to where, hey, we can still be in the top 8 with 2 losses because we've played a tough schedule.
Nobody's going to want to schedule them anymore at this point. Yeah. They're just the perfect little princesses that don't have to play by the rules.
But they did take their ball and go home. We're going to get to that right here. But I think Notre Dame should have a top 8 clause, not a top 12. They really shouldn't have any clause. But if you want to encourage them to play tougher schedules, put a top 8 clause in there. And then secondly, the top 12 clause should be for the one group of 5 team. If you're in the top 12, then fine. Then you bump the last at-large team. But this year's playoff should have included, in my opinion, Notre Dame and Texas. I would have gone Texas over BYU. I'm so tired of hearing them. I don't care about your strength of schedule. You played Tech twice, got smoked twice. Everybody else is a nobody to a borderline nobody.
There is not, and I looked at this today because I was like, okay, I want to do my real research on the Big 12 and the types of non-conference games they are scheduling. At least I did this for every single currently ranked team in the Big 12. Not a single one of them scheduled a quality non-conference opponent. So what that tells me, okay, Texas Tech might be as good as everybody is saying they are. Mm-hmm. I am not ready to say that Texas Tech is as good as everybody is saying they are because I haven't seen them play somebody else who is in a different league that is also highly ranked.
Can I jump in with one sentence and then keep going?
Go for it.
My concern with Tech, I love their defense. I love their running game. When you talk about somebody that hasn't played anybody, they have not played a real defense yet. At all. Period. None. Zero. Zip. Nothing. That's my concern. They might still be able to run the ball and move the ball, and I think their quarterback is solid. Barron, I was about to say Barons, like Robert Barons, our boy, Baron Morton. Their quarterback solid, but man, I just have to see how that O-line and running game hold up against a high-end defense, and they might, but we haven't seen it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just not going to sit here and say, like, I'm not sold on Texas Tech. That's not me saying that they are not worth the number 4 spot. I just don't feel confident in saying that they are as good as everybody thinks they are, because you just haven't seen them tested against an opponent outside of the Big 12 or a highly ranked opponent, period. All of the opponents that they faced in the Big 12 are around that 10 or below ranking at this point in the standings. I think it's Houston, BYU, obviously.
Like Houston, they're ranked because they go weeks on end without playing real teams.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's just
Houston hasn't played, like, the only other ranked teams they've played are like Texas Tech.
Do you know what you're doing right now? You are doing what you guys were on my ass about doing for 12 years. And I know the Big 12 was tougher with OU and Texas in it, obviously. But
okay, the difference here, who was Texas scheduling in those 12 years? Because I remember a Notre Dame game. I remember a LSU series. I remember some quality out-of-conference matchups. So do not compare us to what the Big 12 is doing right now.
Okay, fair. And you also had a Gundy Oklahoma State team back then, Kansas State.
Actual quality.
Okay, but
TCU, who had our number the entire time we were in the Big 12 and made the college football playoff multiple times.
It's true. You're right. What I was saying, though, was not about Texas. It was about that Big 12. And I still think, with everything you just said, which were actually really good points, but I still think there was a wide gap between what the SEC was putting on the field versus, and we saw that every year in the playoffs.
When I watched the difference in games this year, I thought it was slow motion when I turned on a Big 12 game.
So now you see, and this year I think Texas got a better taste of it, and they did win some big games.
Well, but I couldn't argue with it back then because Texas was dookie half the time. Well, so I'm not sitting here making an argument for Texas. It's not true.
But that was part of it. Like when Texas you are up here, the Big 12 looks dramatically different. But it was just like every year, these Big 12 teams, and particularly when Texas and OU weren't up, they would win a bunch of games in a row for 4 weeks against a bunch of unranked teams. Or hey, this team's ranked, they're 21. Well, yeah, because they haven't played anybody in 4 weeks. And then it becomes a thing. I do think it's funny now that Texas and OU fans are seeing it, and they've adapted. Their teams have adjusted and adapted quite nicely. But
it's gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I get it while y'all are cheering for other SEC teams. Because I look at some of these Big 12 posts, and I'm just like, what planet are you guys living on?
Tell me right now, outside of your Indiana, the romantic story there with them, tell me that if a SEC team is playing a Big 10 team, you are not going to want to see that SEC team win just because of all the crap you've had to hear from the Big 10.
I will tell you my 2 winners. I made 2 brackets. One winner was Indiana. One winner was Georgia.
Okay. Matt, I think if I was picking 2, that would be, if I had to pick 2 separate ones, that would be my pick. But you get what I'm saying now, though. And now you see why I'm like, dude, it's not as easy as making fun of a conference for only playing 8 conference games. And I've told you, and I've told people all the time, if you really know college football, and I don't mean you're smarter than other people. I mean, if you really know people in the sport, and you know what Dana Holgerson says when he coaches from the SEC on over to the Big 12. Or not Dana coaching against A&M one year told me, man, that's the biggest, most physical offensive defense lines we've played all year. And A&M was 7-5 that year. And when you know what Cliff Kingsbury says when he coaches in the big SEC and then goes to the Big 12, and you know what all these coaches that have bounced around say about the league. Did you see this week what Caleb Downs at Ohio State said?
I didn't see it.
The star safety. He's basically dude, it's different. Every week you have to play against dudes in that conference. Every single week. And he said in this conference, it's not every week. There are weeks when it's not like that. And that's a national champion. He's just being honest on his podcast. His team was better than the SEC last year. So it's not like a sour grape thing. So I think we're all seeing it now.
Yeah, I will say, though, you were saying that in Texas's last season in the Big 12, ironically also a season where they beat Alabama.
Yeah, true. And
You said they coasted to the college football playoff, but they beat Alabama.
did I say that they coasted?
Yes, that they were able to coast through an inferior conference to the college football playoff. I believe I have that bookmark somewhere.
Are you reading that right now? Or have you
That's just imprinted in my mind because that was one of her biggest bangers of all time. And I think Peyton brings it up occasionally, like, oh, he just said we coasted in the Big 12. And I mean, if we would have coasted in the Big 12 had it been a year where we hadn't scheduled an LSU or an Alabama. That's my difference with compared to Texas and the current Big 12. It feels different because you don't have Texas in the conference that's scheduling these kinds of opponents. You don't have an Oklahoma that's scheduled. I don't remember who Oklahoma scheduled before Michigan recently, if they were scheduling major non-conference opponents. But Texas has been doing it for a while. I feel like they've been doing it for a lot longer than other teams I've seen.
It's times like this that I realize I never had a chance against you. Like, I feel like all that had to happen was for Texas to win at the requisite level. And once that happened, like, I feel like you knew what you were going to do.
Well, I think also the problem is I kind of have a photographic memory when it comes to history of certain things in Texas sports. I don't know if I ever told you, but I interviewed for the Longhorn Network. I didn't end up accepting the internship position, but they do a test of Longhorn facts in this interview, and you're in front of like a panel of 10 ESPN execs or Longhorn Network people.
Yeah.
And they get through the 10 questions and they're like, okay, you're getting a bonus because we can't get you to get one wrong. And I got the bonus right too. So.
Well, I don't know how that has to do. I guess photographic memory. It has to do with my tweets.
I'm just telling you, I have a very strong memory when it comes to these kinds of things.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And Grant gets really frustrated with my memory of like previous conversations.
Oh yeah, where you're like, you said this.
I am hell to have as a girlfriend if you're in an argument.
I can only imagine. And you know what? That is why Kaylee Hartung is my favorite Longhorn Network personality, because she is sweet to me. Unlike,
I'm not as mean as I could be.
I know. I know.
It's all in good fun.
I think people have started to realize you're not the big bad wolf.
No, it's all fun sports negging. Nothing's personal here. I mean,
But that tweet,
I had a great time at the A&M game. There were the fans around us. One of them, I think, listened to the show, and we took a selfie together. It was really fun.
I love it. And we did get a lot of love from everybody down there about the show and stuff. All right, so Texas Bowl. What you got some news today for A&M real quick. They picked up a big time 27 commitment in Caden McCarty.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Caden is Cy Falls pass rusher, and I love, man, his tape just screams SEC edge rusher, 6'3", 230. He can really just bend that edge and get after the quarterback, and he plays fast, super twitchy. He's got length to him. You know, you've seen A&M and Texas in the last couple of years, what guys like, you know, A&M with those D-line draft picks last year, Texas with the D-line draft picks, Texas with Simmons, A&M with Howell. Like, you need game changers on the edge, and you need more than one. You need to just keep accumulating them. So to me, with adding Caden today, and that was really an A&M, Texas, and Tech decision, you go out and get Marco Jones, who's a true freshman right now, who's really promising for the Aggies. And then this class, Tristan Givens, who Elko sat here and said he felt like the rankings say it, but he's like, he wanted A&M fans to understand like just how gifted and talented he is as a pass rusher, just the natural things you can't coach. I see it with McCarty too. So I really love the way they're recruiting those twitchy, rangy edge guys. Amanda, I know both classes just finished in the top 10. We're a little removed from it now. Both our sites have talked about it a lot. I think just, look, 2 top
Quality
10
classes.
classes.
Yep.
A very similar approach, I think, for Sark and Elko in terms of they're going to start in Texas and expand out. The days of signing exclusively Texas classes are over for, I think, everybody in the state. It's not an A&M Texas thing. But
I do think it's funny that I feel like Elko kind of hyper focuses Houston more and Sark is
Dallas,
DFW.
yeah.
And that just kind of tracks. But I mean, there's been a lot
kinda
of
always
talent
been
from
that.
DFW lately.
It's kind of always been that way.
That's what I thought. It was so
historically.
funny when I was driving down for the A&M game. I was like, I'm going to count decals on the road to see how many decals from either team I see. I didn't see a single A&M decal driving down from DFW.
That is weird.
But I did leave at 6:30 a.m. So I beat took me 2:40 to get to Austin. Great time.
I did not beat the traffic, as you know.
Yeah, I saw 13 Texas decals, not a single A&M decal. I'm sure the trip was
Nerd
different
alert.
driving from Houston.
You're such a dork. I'm sure, like Grant's sitting there and you're counting decals like you're looking for
he was
like you're looking for Volkswagens. What'd you do?
he was
Punch him every
knocked
time?
out in the passenger seat. Could not have a care in the world about my Longhorn decal counting.
So I hear
How I kept awake.
Yeah, exactly. You're staying alert for decals. And then knowing my Aggies, you probably saw one truck with like 47 A&M stickers on it, so that only
I didn't
counted.
see a single Aggie until I pulled into the hotel.
I was going to say that only counted for one, even though
No, and it was funny because we went up our elevator and then we get to like go to the room and we get in the elevator to go back down, and when we get in it, there's another Longhorn in it, and they're like, "Oh, good, you got the right stuff on," and I'm like, "Yeah, I actually haven't seen a single Aggie so far." And then the elevator door opens at another floor as we go down, and it's a
Aggies.
divided family. It's like 2 Longhorns and 2 Aggies walk in. I was like, well, that was short lived.
I felt like the hotel was pretty split until after the game. Then in the lobby, it was all burnt orange, and you made me stay there for a while, a little longer than I needed to. All right, so real quick, then both recruiting classes, I think they're similar. They try to do a great job, I think, of balancing portal and recruiting. I think both coaching staffs are quietly very hard at work right now in terms of lining up portal stuff, and that's always low key until it's not. But you guys had some portal NFL news today, which is understandable because guys are deciding whether or not they're going to play in the bowl game. You
and
have
they
exit
interviews on Friday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So like this was expected to happen. This is kind of when everybody starts announcing that. And I just always think it's so funny when you see these announcements, people are like, what's going on in Austin? Sark's lost the locker room. No, this is just normal attrition at this point. This is how it goes. CJ Baxter is the main one I want to talk about because that's one where he was obviously like star running back coming out of high school. And I don't know if you don't pay attention to Texas, you probably don't know the caliber of the knee injury he had. Originally, they thought he tore his ACL, LCL, and PCL.
Yeesh.
It turns out he just tore his ACL and LCL, and there was damage to his PCL. Regardless, that is a horrendous knee injury to have. A lot of players take 2 years to fully recover from that. And I think we saw this year, it was just obvious that he was not the running back that he was prior because he had that stellar season, his freshman season at Texas. And it's just really sad because I encourage anybody who hasn't read it to go read his Players Tribune article he wrote after he got the injury because, like, it's a tearjerker, but at the same time, it's like he loved Texas. He loved being there. So, this was a hard decision for him and for Stark. But it's just it's to the point where I bet he just doesn't know if this is a place where he can get the reps he needs to be able to get to that next level. So it's just probably in the best decision for him.
Yeah.
Wish him all the best. He's a great dude, just great attitude. Had a great attitude through all the injuries. And even this year, he tried to come back, struggled with a hamstring injury. If you've ever had knee injuries, I know I had a knee surgery in July. When you're coming back from one of those, you can get so far in your recovery, but since your muscles haven't been used for so long, you can pull one of those muscles really easily. I pulled my quad pretty much like within the first 3 weeks after my knees, or like when I started PT, I had made so much progress, and then I completely pulled my quad, and it set me back multiple weeks. So he had a similar issue with his hamstring at the beginning of the year.
Well,
so it's just a really hard injury to come back of and compete at the caliber you need to lead a running back room like Texas.
I think you're also pinging, like, there's a reason that Le'Veon Moss is coming back. He had that season-ending knee injury last year. It was ACL, and came back and limped out a couple games, and then finally got hurt significantly. And I know it was an ankle, but I'm sure it, like you were just saying, it's all.
I mean, honestly, the
intertwined.
ankle probably helped him recover his knee longer.
True.
Because it's tearing ligaments is no little task, and it was a little different for CJ because he tore more than one, which I can't even imagine. But yeah, so CJ Baxter, and then we also go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, what else?
Okay, Trey Owens, quarterback. He was I think he was a fourth string at this point. He'd been bumped down, but he'll be a talented pickup for another team. Another great dude. You can go look at his announcement that he was transferring. Just nothing but respect for him. He'll be a really good pickup at another school. I think he's got 4 years of eligibility left. But should be a really good pickup. And then Melvin Hill's defensive line, another one that was just kind of expected.
Yeah.
And Texas has had 2 more this season. We had who was it earlier this season? Our kicker, Will Stone, I believe, and then Gibson, the running back.
Yeah.
So Texas's running back room will look a lot different next season, especially depending on whether or not Wisner declares, which I'm sure Aggies would love if Wisner declared.
I'd love it. So, Amanda, can we expect? I think the obvious answer is yes. We're all going to expect more in when it comes to departures in the portal. Like you said, it's called attrition until it's not. I know last year A&M lost several guys. The only player that I felt like there was a true all-out fight to keep is Noah Thomas, who's a receiver at Georgia right now, and has come alive of late. Heck, he scored the 2 touchdowns against Texas. So you guys probably wish he would have stayed here from that one. But is there anything that you're hearing? You don't need to go into specifics, and you guys do your own work over there on the site. But in terms of, do you expect any of these portal entries to hurt at all, to hit, to sting?
I don't as of now, I don't think there's going to be any significant stings as far as portal entry goes. I know there is an expectation of one flex starter type player to transfer, and I don't want to speculate on that because you don't want to speculate on a player transferring and then have him not going anywhere.
For sure.
But I don't think it's in a position group. He's a starter now. I don't think it's in a position group that anybody should be super concerned about what's behind him, who may have not started yet. But it's that kind of situation. And I also don't, if another is a position group where we could already use the help and probably need to be adding better talent.
Yeah,
so
I got you.
If it's a starter now, we could improve anyways, and you can probably get where I'm going with that one.
All right, let's rip through the playoff thoughts and Heisman.
Oh, also Anthony Hill declaring for the draft.
Kind of a big deal.
That's the one that stung.
Yeah, I remember a lot about Anthony Hill, and the fact that you guys won without him the other day stings. But I remember the day he committed because it was right when we were doing the Texags kickoff party, right as it was starting. He committed, and Jimbo came in right after that. And I remember overhearing on a hunting trip a conversation with Jimbo with Cedric Baxter. Where he was talking to Cedric about, I've said this before on the show, him and Anthony Hill, iron sharpens iron in practice, and it looked like Aggies were going to get both of those guys here. I remember when he decommitted. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into the Anthony Hill. He's a guy A&M fans are real familiar. Great player, great kid, going to, I think, have a great NFL career. It was time for him to go. I know you can get a lot of NIL money for coming back, but he ain't the type
I was hoping
dude.
he would stay so badly.
He just ain't the type dude you can generally keep.
He's going to be a top draft pick, so you can't blame him.
I do think he could have come back and helped his stock, because I don't think he's going to be like a top 15 pick, but he could also have come back, and you play more college football, you can get hurt. Like, he did the right thing. He's going to be a high-round pick, play a long time in that league.
Yeah.
Okay, playoff thoughts. Indiana, Ohio State. I wasn't shocked, and if you go back, I picked Indiana to win that game, which, by the way,
that surprised me. But
it gave me a pick lead on you as we go into
overall, we've already declared me the winner by week.
You won overall. Yeah, you won the real
numbers of picks.
You won the real season. I'm sitting here trying to salvage it. So just let me.
It's
let me keep bringing this
to
up.
salvage.
Yeah, we have 11 games left to pick. Indiana, though, 13-10. I really hated Ryan Day kicking that field goal at the end. Here's why. There's like a little there's 3 minutes-ish left. You had 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. If you don't convert that 4th down against them, like, what are you doing? You're playing for a conference championship. You just won a national championship. This is not going to affect your ability to win a national title. Go for it and keep your winning streak alive.
I agree.
Win another game. And he kicks it, and he missed it. My problem with this is this. You don't get it.
Such a bad kick, too.
And if you don't get it, Indiana's got the ball on the 9. You've got all these creatures on defense. You've got Matt Patricia, and you've got 4 clock stoppages. You're going to you could even give up a first down. You're going to get the ball back in good field position, needing a field goal to tie, a touchdown to win. Like, I thought it was I don't think Ryan Day is spineless or scared, but that opens you up for people to say that, because it was the opposite of a ballsy decision for sure.
Yeah.
So but credit Indiana. What an amazing. I'll tell you what, Amanda, what surprised me, I thought if they won, it might be a 31-28, 34-31 type game. What surprised me is Indiana was more physical. They won, I think, both lines of scrimmage. And that part, to me, really stood out and said, wow, they look like a national championship caliber football team. They really do.
Yep.
You agree with that?
Completely agree.
What did you see? Do you think Bama should be in at 10-3? They got their ass handed to them. It wasn't close.
Yeah. I don't think they're the 9th best team in the country. I
agree.
I think leaving out the SEC championship leaves too much of a precedent that the committee didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
I think that decision was political.
Yeah.
I think if this was a 4-team selection process, Bama would have dropped a bit more because they weren't in contention for one of those top 4 spots as it was.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think they're one of the best. I don't think they're the 9th best team in the country. They might be the 12th best team in the country. I do think they should have dropped some.
I do too.
Maybe even 1 spot. Drop them 1 spot. Look what they did to BYU. And I know we can say what we want to say about BYU, but it is obvious that BYU was very much punished for losing to Tech again. In a way we all thought they would lose.
I do think the
of reasons we discussed.
Yeah, and I would say the difference there is Alabama did beat Georgia. So they were really tasked with, hey, you beat them in their house. Now you're going to have to beat them again. If you don't, we're going to drop you. That did feel weird. But, hey, if you get beat soundly, like you said, I'm with you. I'm not advocating dropping them out of the playoff. But they should have, in my opinion, dropped.
And I think this is another thing how I brought up of just how teams are playing now.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you want to look at the full schedule, but if Texas was playing how they were playing against Florida, it would have been a very ugly season going forward. It would have been a disgusting season going forward. Now, Georgia is not playing like Georgia did against Alabama when they played them the first time around.
No, they're
they
not.
have developed into a much different football team end of season, which is exactly what you want to do. This is why you say, like, the first game you play of the season is never going to be exactly like it was exactly like you're playing at the end of the season, and hopefully that's a good thing and not a bad thing.
Did they get it right, Notre Dame, Miami?
Yeah.
I agree. I think they did.
I think Notre Dame should have been left out in that situation. Or, I mean, I don't think Notre Dame should have been left out if this playoff was actually done correctly. I think Miami should have gotten in this instance over Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. I don't think we should be watching JMU in the playoffs.
No.
But
I thought this was a really embarrassing 7-8 days for this committee. And I thought it's been embarrassing the whole time. You had the Mac Rhodes thing. Then
my thing is just like make it make sense.
Then they
make
can't.
It make sense.
And they're incapable of it.
Sometimes head-to-head matters. Sometimes it doesn't.
The whole thing was, it was never consistent. It never made sense. I thought leaving Ohio State ahead of Georgia was the first thing I saw that I said,
and then
completely
the Alabama
disagree.
loss against FSU is not going against them, but the Texas loss against Florida is a big mark on their record.
Yeah.
You got to say, the thing is, you can say the Texas loss against Florida is the reasoning why they're being left out of the playoff, but you got to hold that same energy for other teams with awful losses.
Well, it's like the whole thing of, like, don't lose late. Well, yeah, Texas Tech lost to Arizona State early. A&M went in and lost to Texas late, and so that automatically means, because it just does.
Arizona State's a little different than losing to your arch rival on their field.
Yeah. I'm saying, though, like, when you lose late, it hurts you more than when it just does. You can watch it. I don't know.
Texas lost to Florida early. They went on to win. I mean, they got stomped in Georgia. They did play through 3 quarters close, but obviously you can't play a fourth quarter like that and expect to make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
But
I just thought, and I think the whole thing, they were embarrassing. I thought what they did that was ridiculous was waiting until Sunday to flip Notre Dame and Miami.
Yeah, they should have had Miami over Notre Dame the entire time if that's what they were
going to do. Or at least a week ago. But I think they didn't want to deal with the uproar. So it was literally like, hey, selection season's over. Good to see y'all. Oh, by the way, Miami over Notre Dame. Bye. See you guys. Done. Like, run away and hide. I thought that was how they did it, and I think that's
I can understand why Notre Dame's upset in that aspect, but the reaction after the fact makes me say grow up.
Yeah.
I mean, you get it.
I get it, and I think the whole country gets it, and that's unfortunate because Notre Dame, I think the brand, they'll be fine. Here's the deal. People are going to play them. I know we say, well, Texas should cancel. And they might do that, but that's not about Notre Dame. That's about, hey, these games don't help us. Why are we playing them? Yeah. But people are going to play Notre Dame. They're not going to join a conference. I don't care what people think. They never have. They're not going to get bullied into doing it. They're just going to pout and get their way, I feel like, unfortunately. I think it's a bad look. Heisman look, real quick. Let's just do it like this. Who's your winner? Who's your runner-up? Start with your runner-up.
Sayin.
My runner-up's Pavia. I think he's been on a pretty iconic run of late.
He's a pretty even second for me.
But I also think he's been on a hell of a run, but it's also been against, Kentucky. The Tennessee win really impressed me. It was in the
lost to Texas.
Fourth quarter of a Texas game when you were getting blown out because you didn't get it done in 3 quarters. And then he looked great against Auburn. So the end of season run was terrific. He's an amazing story. He's the reason Vandy's relevant, him and Clark Lee. But I just would say, like, who did Vandy truly beat? Like, here's your Heisman.
Maybe Texas didn't beat Alabama.
If they would have won in Austin or Tuscaloosa, I think he wins it. He didn't. You look at some of these great quarterbacks along the way. It almost reminds me of RG3 when he was at Baylor when he won it. I don't think he had any massive wins that year, but he had statistics. But this year,
Speaking of RG3 on Twitter recently,
I know, he's getting under your skin, isn't he?
No, he's just, I feel like he's getting under a lot of people's skin.
Well, I think yeah, no question.
Not just me.
So who's your winner?
I want Mendoza to win. That's who I would pick. I mean, that's a want.
I think he's going to win it.
I think you look at all factors of what a Heisman is. I don't know. I've become a big Mendoza fan over the past couple weeks.
I think he's going to win it. I think he had to beat Ohio State to do it. 13-10, I would have said no, but just the hit he took early in the game, and he came back a play later, and just the clutch throws in that one, and just what it meant. The Indiana Hoosiers won the Big Ten title.
Yeah,
I say he's going to win that. All right,
and that's one. Fortunately, not many of us can just hate that.
No, I said, and Marcel had an opportunity. I said it was going to be decided in those 2 weeks because everyone was playing everyone. Oh, Sayin and Mendoza, and Marcel was going to play against the Longhorns, and if he won that, he was going to play against Simpson and Alabama. There was an opportunity for somebody to take it, and I think Mendoza went out there the other night, and even though it wasn't a shootout, he went out there and took it because that was that game is going to be ingrained in every voter's memory, and I think rightfully so. So let's end it. Let's wrap it up with moving goalposts. Have some fun this week. Moving goalposts and a quick retweet delete. It's a fun time of year now.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's have it.
Back to the retweet delete.
And I can take it right now because you know what? The Aggies are in the playoffs, so I just hit me with whatever you got. Goalposts.
I don't want to go too hard on you. Exactly. The Aggies are in the playoffs, and the Texas fans are watching. We all get it. It sucks. Mm-hmm. You don't have to pile on with that. But my moving goalposts was you made the playoffs, something that you wanted to do for a long time, talked up very well, but now the playoff spot isn't good enough.
It is, but it wasn't as it was.
And you know what?
Out.
Guess what happened to Texas last year? The same exact thing. Lost to Georgia in the SEC championship, got knocked back to 5.
I didn't think about that. They fell out of the top 4, didn't they?
Yep.
And that would have definitely happened to A&M had they gone.
And I don't really remember many people complaining about our playoff spot last year. I mean, I could be wrong. I didn't care. I thought Clemson would be a fun matchup at home.
Y'all also had that 5-4 where you knew you felt like you were going to go cakewalk Arizona State, which they played their asses off.
Which was not a cakewalk. Yeah, that was
but
annoyingly.
Okay, yeah, I've definitely. I was complaining about it for a minute there on Twitter, and I was like, you know what, man? Nobody picked this team to do this, and yeah, I think they dropped a spot or two lower than they should have. Come on. You're playing Miami at home. So, yeah, you're right. I should not be moving that goalpost.
It'd be one thing if you were dropped low enough to not get a home playoff spot.
Yeah.
That would be where I would really have beef.
Yeah.
But that was not the case.
No, look, I mean, yes, you would be a shoo-in to the second round had you played Tulane. But that's not the goal. I'm sorry. Beating Tulane and going to the second. People fired James Franklin.
That doesn't feel that great.
They fired James Franklin a year later.
Clemson felt pretty good last year.
Yeah, exactly. If you beat Miami, you're going to feel good about it, and you're going to go into Ohio State feeling like you got a shot. If you beat Tulane or James Madison, nothing's changed about anything. And the fans... You're not going into it with that sense of urgency, that sense of dread, that sense of hope, excitement. It's just like, yeah, let's check this box and move on. So I'm here for it, not complaining. Again, the goal is not to make it to the second round of a playoff. It's just not. The goal is to win it or to go on an unforgettable run. Get to the national championship game. The goal is to have that moment like you guys had that I was there and saw y'all when you were on the cusp of the goal line to tie it up against Ohio State and Sawyer has that fumble return. Like, that agony is why we love sports. Like, that is, you want that. The goal is not to beat Tulane or James Madison at home. The goal is not to, hey, we got the second round of the playoffs this year. The first goal is to get there. Check. The next goal is to make a run at winning it. And again, like I said, if you can't beat Miami at home, then you weren't going to beat Ohio State, Georgia, and Indiana back to back to back. So I'm good with it. You're right. I was moving them around like this at the beginning.
You've done a lot of that.
And then retweet, delete. You sent me one today.
Delete. I was going to look for the one I mentioned earlier, but I think I might not be able to find that one. The one of you saying the Texas navigated an inferior conference to make it to the playoffs. That might be a little too deep in my bookmarks to find on the fly.
You already used that one by memory.
Okay, I just had to do a little dig into like my files I previously had, because I don't know if y'all have realized Billy tweeted a lot about Texas's schedule year one in the SEC and the schedule they drew. And it's interesting seeing how this turned out. And this is quite a poll. This is from May 13th of last year. Texas fans scoffing at the SEC grind while also realizing they drew virtually every team in the bottom half of the projected league standings and missing the top 6 minus Georgia. Who did that happen to this year?
And you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm good. Like, you can show me that graph and that line, and the seed has been.
I'm gonna have to quote tweet that one after.
Yeah, I mean, just with that graph, like, all you do is just the graph, like show the picture with the line with the. I mean, like, yeah, I was much more.
Wait, I have another good one. Okay, this is from June 14th, 2023.
It's funny, by the way. I used, like, before this season, you would burn me up with these, and I would just have to sit here and take it, and I would get so frustrated because it was like, damn it, she's right, I was wrong again. Now I don't care. I don't.
Okay.
Like, A, I'm beaten
this is
down.
what you might care about.
A, I'm beaten down, and B, we're in. They can't change the seating.
You can just laugh. You can just laugh at this point.
Okay, what is it?
This is you replying to somebody saying, lucky y'all not having to play Georgia. And you responded saying, you're right, Texas a much easier draw. SEC doing the Ags of favors already.
What can I say?
How'd that go for you?
Not well. I'm a smart ass. What can I say? You had a funnier one earlier. I don't know where it is where you texted, but it was pretty...
I have the files for my text. Was it the first one I sent you that you sent a down thumb to? Where you said, I'm just saying A&M's schedule is a little tougher than you seem to think, much tougher than Texas last year, zero comparison. Now, Texas's schedule this year from Ohio State to A&M and all points in between, much tougher. At least you got the second half of that right. Because, and I looked it up, Texas end of season strength of schedule in 2024, according to the ESPN CFPI, 6. A&M in 2025, 16. So a little different there.
Wow. Sufficiently bodied. Consider me bodied, done. But thanks to the fact that I've got backup support here, this is not a bookmark on you, but it is a fact check that's actually interesting. We did miss this. This is when you were talking about the Texas dropping in the playoff. Zane texted from the back there. He said, Texas was ranked number 3 on selection day in the CFP last year. The problem was they dropped from 2 to 3 after losing to Georgia, so just one spot. But they didn't get that bye because last year, remember, they fixed it this year, but they were reserved. Those top 4 were for conference champions only.
Gotcha.
So they were the first non-conference champ. So it was a stupid rule. They fixed it a year later. So listen, you just, I was in the middle of getting slapped around. Zane saved me with a little like.
Look at Zane coming into the rescue.
What'd you say earlier? Salvaging some pride.
I was about to say I was confused as to, I thought we were 5 just because I guess my brain is in the in the mode of like, we had to be that low because that's what it is now.
Yeah.
But I guess, I didn't realize it had changed since last season.
Zane saw me floundering, and he said, "You know what?
I gotta help this guy.
I'm gonna save him." Anyway, great show. We'll do it next week with a little, probably be a lot shorter because there's not all this stuff going on. We'll talk primarily.
We got a preview of a game to do, though.
Preview the game. That's what we'll be doing next week. So, I'm Billy.
I'm Amanda.
And we are
moving goalposts.
I was, and then I stopped.
Yeah, look at him. Progress, growth, personal growth.
All right, thanks, Amanda.
Bye.